I'm Natalie Spencer, 38, and I just did something I never thought possible. I banned my own sister from my daughter's prestigious art exhibition. Don't bother coming, it's just for VIP kids. Yours can join online, I texted Amanda, throwing her own cruel words back at her. 3 years ago, she'd excluded my daughter Lily from her son's exclusive birthday party with those exact words. The revenge felt bittersweet as I watched my phone explode with angry messages from my parents and extended family. Family loyalty versus standing up for my child, I never imagined I'd be forced to choose. If you've ever had to stand up to family who crossed the line, you know that sick feeling in your stomach. Before I dive deeper into how this family drama unfolded, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop your location in the comments, hit that like button if you've ever had to set boundaries with family, and subscribe to catch more real-life stories about the complicated mess we call family. Trust me, this story of karma and standing up for what's right is just getting started. To understand how things got so bad between my sister and me, you need to know a bit about our family. I'm Natalie, a public school teacher married to Mark, an IT specialist. Our daughter Lily is 12, artistic, sensitive, and the light of our lives. My sister Amanda is 2 years older, an investment banker, married to Richard, a corporate lawyer. Their son Ethan is 13, athletic, popular, and by all appearances, the golden child of our extended family. Growing up, there was always a sense of competition between Amanda and me. Our parents, especially our father, encouraged it. Look how well Amanda is doing in calculus, Natalie. You should try harder. Or, Amanda made the varsity team as a freshman. Maybe you should practice more. These little comparisons continued into adulthood when Amanda chose a high-paying career path while I followed my passion for teaching. The adult version of this competition became more subtle but no less painful. When Amanda and Richard bought their 5-bedroom house in an exclusive neighborhood, my parents couldn't stop talking about it. When Mark and I purchased our modest 3-bedroom home, my mother said, "Well, it's cozy at least." The pattern was established early on. Amanda was the successful one, and I was the one who had settled for less. 5 years ago, Mark got an excellent job opportunity that required us to move. By coincidence, we ended up in the same general area as Amanda. Initially, I was excited. Despite our differences, I thought it would be wonderful for Lily and Ethan to grow up together. They were close in age, and as young children, they had always gotten along well during family holidays. The first signs of trouble appeared almost immediately. When we invited Amanda's family over for dinner to celebrate our move, Amanda arrived in her brand new luxury SUV. After a cursory hug, her first words weren't "welcome to the neighborhood," but "Oh, you bought in this part of town?" We looked here but decided it wasn't quite right for us. Throughout dinner, she peppered the conversation with references to their country club membership and the extensive renovations they were doing to their already impressive home. I tried to brush it off. That was just Amanda being Amanda. But then she started making comments about Lily. When Lily came downstairs wearing her favorite outfit, a dress we had found at a second-hand store, Amanda whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "I could take you shopping sometime and get you some new clothes if your parents are okay with that." Lily's face fell, and I saw Mark's jaw tighten. At first, Lily and Ethan still got along well. They would play video games together or swim in Amanda's pool when we visited. But as they grew older, Ethan began absorbing his mother's elitist attitudes. He started making comments about Lily's public school or asking why she didn't play real sports like he did at his private academy. Amanda's name-dropping and humble bragging became more frequent. Every conversation included mentions of exclusive events she and Richard had attended, or the remarkable opportunities they were providing for Ethan. When Ethan got into an invitation-only summer camp for gifted athletes, Amanda made sure everyone in the family knew about it. The first major confrontation happened during what was supposed to be a joint family vacation to a beach resort. Amanda had insisted on booking activities that were way beyond our budget. When I explained that parasailing and private yacht tours weren't financially feasible for us, Amanda rolled her eyes. "It's not that expensive, Natalie. Maybe if you and Mark had made different career choices, you wouldn't have to worry about money all the time." I was stunned by her bluntness. "We're very happy with our choices, Amanda. Not everyone measures success by their bank account." Clearly, she said with a smirk, looking around at our modest rental condo. That night, Mark found me crying on our balcony. She's always been like this, Nat. I don't know why you keep trying so hard with her. She's my sister, I said, as if that explained everything. And for a long time, it did. I kept making excuses for her behavior, kept trying to maintain a relationship despite her increasingly toxic attitude about status and worth. I thought family meant accepting people as they are. I didn't yet understand that acceptance shouldn't come at the cost of my daughter's self-esteem. Little did I know that a birthday party invitation would soon force me to confront this reality head-on. Ethan's 10th birthday was approaching. A milestone our family always celebrated in a big way. For weeks, Amanda had been planning what she called the event of the season at an exclusive indoor adventure park that had recently opened. The place featured rock climbing, zip lines, laser tag, and a video game arcade, basically paradise for kids Ethan's age. The standard package was already expensive, but Amanda had booked the VIP suite with private catering and additional perks. Lily was ecstatic about the upcoming party. She and Ethan might have been growing apart, but they were still cousins, and she loved adventure parks. She spent 2 weekends working on a special handmade gift for him, a detailed sketch of Ethan scoring the winning goal in his recent soccer tournament, framed and ready to be hung in his room. She was so proud of it, and I was proud of her thoughtfulness. A week before the party, as Lily and I were discussing what she would wear, my phone pinged with a text from Amanda. I'll never forget the words that appeared on my screen. "Don't bother coming, it's just for VIP kids. Yours can join online." I stared at my phone, certain I had misunderstood. I immediately called Amanda. "What do you mean Lily isn't invited to Ethan's party? She's his cousin." Amanda's voice was casual, as if she were discussing the weather rather than excluding her niece from a family celebration. We had to be selective with the guest list. The VIP package only allows for a certain number of children, and Ethan wanted to invite his friends from school and the soccer team. "But she's family, Amanda. She's been looking forward to this for weeks." She made him a special gift. "That's sweet," Amanda replied, not sounding like she meant it. "But this is really an exclusive event. We're having the children of some very important clients there. It's mostly kids from Ethan's private school and the country club. Lily would probably feel out of place anyway." The implication was clear. My daughter wasn't good enough to attend. She didn't belong with the VIP kids from Amanda's social circle. Are you seriously telling me that my daughter, your niece, isn't welcome at her own cousin's birthday party because she doesn't go to private school? Don't make this into something it's not, Natalie. There's a simple solution. We're going to live stream the event for those who can't attend in person. Lily can watch online and still be part of the celebration. I was speechless. Watch online? Like some kind of second-class participant? Before I could formulate a response, Lily walked into the room. From the look on her face, I could tell she had overheard enough of the conversation to understand what was happening. "Mom?" she said, her voice small. "Am I not invited to Ethan's party?" I covered the phone quickly. "Honey, let me finish talking to Aunt Amanda, okay?" But it was too late. Lily's eyes welled with tears. "Is it because I'm not special enough? Not like the kids at Ethan's school?" My heart shattered. I told Amanda I would call her back and hung up to comfort my daughter. That night, Lily cried herself to sleep, clutching the framed drawing she had made for her cousin. The next day, I called Amanda back, my anger having crystallized into something hard and sharp. "What you did was cruel and elitist," I told her. "You're teaching Ethan that it's okay to exclude people based on their social status. Is that really the lesson you want him to learn?" "Oh, please," Amanda scoffed. "You chose to be a teacher. This is the life you picked. Don't blame me because you can't provide the same opportunities for Lily that we give Ethan." Her dismissive attitude took my breath away. This wasn't just about a birthday party anymore. This was about a fundamental difference in how we viewed people's worth. When I called our parents to vent about the situation, hoping for some support, they surprised me by siding with Amanda. "She paid for the party, Natalie. It's her choice who to invite," my father said. My mother added, "Maybe you could take Lily somewhere special that day instead." Their response hurt almost as much as Amanda's original exclusion. They were enabling her behavior, just as they always had. In the end, Lily refused to watch the live stream of the party. She spent the day at a local art museum with Mark instead, trying to forget about the cousin who had decided she wasn't good enough to celebrate with him. Meanwhile, I scrolled through Amanda's Instagram posts showing the lavish celebration, each photo driving home the wealth gap between our families and the different worlds our children inhabited. That night, after Lily was asleep, I sat in our backyard wondering if I could continue a relationship with my sister after what she had done. Mark joined me, handing me a glass of wine. "You know this isn't going to be an isolated incident, right?" he said quietly. "This is who she is. This is who she's teaching Ethan to be." I nodded, the reality of our situation settling heavily on my shoulders. "I know. But she's still my sister. And he's still Lily's cousin. Sometimes family is defined by how people treat each other, not by blood," Mark replied. "And right now, they're not treating Lily like family." He was right, but I wasn't ready to accept the implications yet. I still believed we could work through this, that Amanda would eventually see how hurtful her actions had been. I was wrong. The months following Ethan's birthday party were filled with awkward family gatherings. Amanda acted as if nothing had happened, never once apologizing for excluding Lily. When we arrived at my parents' house for Sunday dinners, she would greet us with air kisses and immediately launch into stories about Ethan's latest achievements or the exclusive weekend getaway she and Richard had just returned from. My parents repeatedly urged me to let it go for family harmony. My mother pulled me aside during one such dinner and whispered, "You're making things uncomfortable for everyone by holding a grudge." I wanted to scream that I wasn't the one who had created this situation, but instead, I simply replied, "I'm not holding a grudge. I'm protecting my daughter." The truth was, Lily needed protection. Since the birthday incident, she had become increasingly withdrawn. Her grades, once consistently excellent, began to slip. She stopped talking about her art projects, which had previously been a source of such joy for her. When I asked her teacher about the change in behavior, she mentioned that Lily had been sitting alone at lunch, declining invitations to join other students. One night, I found Lily sitting on her bed, staring at old family photos that included Ethan. When I asked what she was thinking about, her answer broke my heart. "I'm trying to figure out when I stopped being good enough," she said softly. Was I ever good enough for them? That was the moment I decided to find Lily a therapist. Dr. Morrison specialized in children dealing with family issues and self-esteem problems. After several sessions, she asked to speak with me privately. "Lily is exhibiting signs of depression," she explained. "She's internalized the message that her worth is tied to her social status and material possessions." The exclusion from her cousin's party wasn't an isolated incident in her mind, it confirmed fears she already had about not measuring up. Dr. Morrison didn't mince words about the source of the problem. "The family dynamics at play here are toxic. Your sister's behavior and your parents' enabling of it are directly contributing to Lily's self-image issues." When I shared this information with Mark, he became even more protective of Lily. "Maybe we should limit contact with Amanda's family," he suggested. "At least until Lily is in a better place emotionally." I was torn. On one hand, I wanted to protect my daughter. On the other, I still clung to the hope of maintaining family connections. The American ideal of tight-knit family bonds was deeply ingrained in me, even though our reality was far from that ideal. The pattern continued at other family events. At Easter, my parents hosted an egg hunt for the grandchildren. I arrived early to help hide eggs, only to discover that Amanda had already done it, placing special premium eggs with larger gifts in areas she knew Ethan would search, while the regular eggs were scattered in more obvious locations. "Ethan needs the extra motivation," she explained when I confronted her. "He gets bored easily." That day, I started standing up more firmly. I rearranged several of the premium eggs while Amanda was inside, ensuring a more equitable hunt. When Amanda realized what I'd done, she played the victim, telling our parents I was being unnecessarily competitive and ruining the holiday spirit. To my surprise, my Aunt Catherine pulled me aside and whispered, "It's about time someone stood up to her. She's been getting away with this behavior for too long." I realized then that the family was dividing into factions, taking sides in what was becoming an increasingly open conflict. Some relatives began to notice Amanda's preferential treatment and the effect it was having on Lily. Others continued to enable her, either out of habit or because they benefited from staying in her good graces. The more I reflected on our situation, the more I recognized that this pattern wasn't new. Our grandmother had favored our mother over her sister, creating a similar dynamic that had persisted into the next generation. Now Amanda was continuing the cycle with Ethan and Lily. The realization was both illuminating and depressing. Were we doomed to repeat these toxic patterns forever? During a rare phone conversation with my cousin Rachel, who had moved across the country years ago, she offered an outside perspective. From what you're describing, Amanda's behavior isn't just about status or money, Rachel said. It sounds like she's deeply insecure. People who are truly secure in themselves don't need to constantly put others down or flaunt their advantages. The insight gave me pause. I had always seen Amanda as supremely confident, even arrogant. The idea that her behavior might stem from insecurity was a new lens through which to view our relationship. But while it helped me understand her better, it didn't excuse the harm she was doing to Lily. As the months passed, the rift between our families widened. Invitations to Amanda's house became rarer, and when we did see them at family gatherings, the interactions were strained and superficial. Ethan, following his mother's example, became increasingly dismissive of Lily, barely acknowledging her presence except to make subtle digs about her clothes or hobbies. Mark became less and less willing to attend these gatherings. "I'm not going to sit there and watch them treat Lily like she's inferior," he said after a particularly tense Thanksgiving dinner. "And honestly, I don't think you should either." He was right. Something had to change. I couldn't keep exposing Lily to an environment that was slowly eroding her sense of self-worth. But I wasn't yet sure what that change would look like or how to implement it without causing an irreparable family schism. The answer would come from an unexpected place, Lily herself. About 6 months after the birthday party incident, I discovered a flyer for a specialized art program at our local community center. The program was designed for middle schoolers with an interest in visual arts and was taught by Rachel Chen, a respected local artist who had exhibited her work in several regional galleries. Given Lily's previous enthusiasm for art, I thought it might be a good outlet for her emotions. When I showed her the flyer, however, she was hesitant. "What if I'm not good enough?" she asked, the insecurity that had been planted taking root in her voice. "Art isn't about being good enough, honey," I told her. "It's about expressing yourself and finding joy in creation." After some gentle encouragement, Lily agreed to try one class. I'll never forget picking her up after that first session. Her eyes were bright in a way I hadn't seen for months, and she clutched a sketch pad to her chest like a treasure. "Miss Rachel says I have a unique perspective," she told me in the car, her voice animated. She said my use of shadow is advanced for my age. Over the next few weeks, Lily bloomed under Rachel's mentorship. She started spending hours in her room working on art projects, experimenting with different techniques and mediums. The change wasn't just in her artistic pursuits, her overall demeanor shifted. She began participating more in class, reconnecting with friends, and the cloud of sadness that had hung over her started to lift. Rachel recognized something special in Lily's work, not just technical skill, but emotional depth. She had an ability to convey complex feelings through her art, something Rachel said couldn't be taught. The breakthrough came when Lily created a painting for a class assignment about personal challenges. The piece showed a small figure standing outside a circle of light where other figures were gathered. The lighting and composition were striking, but it was the emotion conveyed that took my breath away. You could feel the loneliness, the yearning to be included. When Rachel saw it, she pulled me aside during pickup. "This is exceptional work," she said quietly. "Has Lily experienced exclusion recently? The emotion in this piece is so raw and authentic." I explained the situation with Amanda and Ethan, trying to keep my voice steady as I recounted the birthday party incident. Rachel nodded thoughtfully. "That explains a lot about her work. She's channeling that pain into something beautiful and meaningful." She hesitated, then added, "There's a youth art competition coming up. I think Lily should enter this piece." When I mentioned the competition to Lily, her initial excitement quickly gave way to anxiety. What if people make fun of my work? What if Ethan finds out and tells everyone I lost? Then you'll know you had the courage to put yourself out there, I said. And that's worth more than any prize. With support from both Mark and me, Lily spent hours perfecting her competition entry. She titled it Outside Looking In. And it was even more powerful than her original classroom piece. The colors were more vibrant, the emotions more nuanced. It depicted not just exclusion but the beginning of self-acceptance, despite that exclusion. I should have known that news of the competition would reach Amanda through our family grapevine. She called me one evening, her voice dripping with sudden interest. "I hear Lily's getting into art competitions now," she said. "How interesting. Ethan's been showing some artistic talent too, you know. His private art tutor says he has a natural eye for composition." My stomach tightened. I knew where this was heading before she even said it. "I think I'll enter him in that community center competition. It would be good experience for him before the more prestigious competitions his tutor is recommending." Sure enough, Ethan entered the same competition with a technically proficient landscape painting. Amanda made sure to mention the expensive supplies and professional lessons that had gone into its creation whenever she spoke to family members about it. She even tried to join the parent committee for the event, calling me to ask for details about the meetings. "I just want to make sure everything is organized properly," she said, the implication being that the community center event would benefit from her expertise. The day of the competition arrived with both excitement and dread. Lily was nervous but determined. As we walked into the community center, we immediately spotted Amanda directing Ethan where to place his canvas for optimal lighting. She barely acknowledged our arrival, busy instructing a volunteer about the proper handling of Ethan's artwork. I'll admit I was worried. Ethan's painting was technically impressive, a mountain landscape with precise details and perfect perspective. Next to it, Lily's more abstract, emotional piece might seem amateur to the untrained eye. But I had underestimated the judge's ability to recognize authentic artistic expression. When the results were announced, Lily won first place in her age group. The head judge, a professor from the local university's art department, specifically mentioned the emotional depth and originality of her work. Ethan received an honorable mention for technical skill. The look on Amanda's face was a mixture of shock and disbelief. She quickly composed herself and offered Lily a cold congratulations before turning to one of the other parents to criticize the judging criteria. "They clearly value emotional manipulation over technical proficiency," I overheard her saying. "In the real art world, skill matters more than feelings." What surprised me most was Ethan's reaction. Unlike his mother, he seemed genuinely impressed by Lily's work. When Amanda was distracted, he approached his cousin. "Your painting is really cool," he said awkwardly. "It makes me feel things." "Mine's just a mountain." It was a small moment, but significant. For the first time, I saw a crack in the elitism Amanda had been instilling in her son. Perhaps there was hope for their relationship after all. Lily's victory came with an unexpected bonus, an invitation to display her work at the Regional Youth Art Exhibition, an event known for showcasing exceptional young talent. It was a prestigious opportunity that could lead to scholarship considerations and mentorship from established artists. As we drove home from the competition, Lily's first-place ribbon carefully tucked in her backpack, I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Her expression was peaceful, confident in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. "Are you proud of yourself?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "I didn't win because of expensive supplies or private lessons. I won because of what was inside me." She paused, then added thoughtfully, "I think that's worth more, isn't it?" In that moment, I realized that Lily had found something valuable through this painful journey, a sense of self-worth that came from within rather than from external validation or material possessions. It was a lesson that, ironically, Amanda, with all her advantages, had yet to learn. If you've ever watched a child discover their talents and passions, you know that incredible feeling when they start believing in themselves. It's like watching a flower bloom in time-lapse. Has anyone else had a moment when your child overcame something difficult and emerged stronger? Let me know in the comments. And if this story is resonating with you so far, please hit that like button to help others find it too. Now, let's see what happened when Lily's art opportunity collided with family dynamics. The official invitation to the Regional Youth Art Exhibition arrived in our mailbox 2 weeks after the competition. The cream-colored envelope with gold embossing made it clear this was no ordinary event. Inside was a formal letter congratulating Lily on her selection and detailing the prestigious nature of the exhibition. Only the top winners from local competitions throughout the tri-state area have been invited to display their work, the letter explained. The exhibition would be held at the Westfield Gallery, a renowned art space that typically featured established artists. This was a rare opportunity for young talents to gain exposure in the professional art world. The letter also mentioned scholarship opportunities and the possibility of mentorship from established artists who would be attending the event. For a budding artist like Lily, it was the equivalent of a young athlete being scouted for a professional team. When Lily read the invitation, her eyes widened with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. They want MY painting? In a real gallery? They do, I confirmed, my chest tight with pride. Because you're talented and your work speaks to people. That evening, Mark suggested we celebrate as a family. This is a big deal, Lil. Not many kids your age get this kind of recognition. Over dinner at Lily's favorite restaurant, we discussed the exhibition and what it could mean for her future. For the first time in months, Lily spoke enthusiastically about her long-term goals, describing the art programs she was researching and the styles she wanted to explore. Miss Rachel says that lots of successful artists get discovered through exhibitions like this, she told us, twirling pasta around her fork. Not that I think I'll get discovered or anything, but it's cool to be part of something real artists do. The joy in her voice was worth every difficult moment we'd endured. This was what parenting was about, helping your child find their path and watching them walk it with confidence. The following Sunday, we attended our regular family dinner at my parents' house. I hadn't planned to mention the exhibition, knowing how Amanda might react, but my mother brought it up as soon as we arrived. We heard about Lily's art exhibition, she said, giving her granddaughter a quick hug. Your cousin Stacy told us. That's wonderful news. I could feel Amanda's gaze sharpen from across the room. Oh? What exhibition is this? I explained briefly, trying to downplay the prestigious nature of the event to avoid antagonizing my sister. It didn't work. The Westfield Gallery? Amanda's eyebrows rose. That's surprising. They usually feature more established artists, don't they? It's a special youth exhibition, I replied evenly. They do it annually to support emerging talent. Well, Amanda said with a tight smile, Ethan's art tutor mentioned some exclusive summer programs at private arts academies. We're considering sending him to the one in New Hampshire. It's quite selective, but with his connections, he shouldn't have any trouble getting in. The implication was clear. Ethan's opportunity was more prestigious because it was exclusive and expensive. I bit my tongue, determined not to let her diminish Lily's achievement. To my surprise, my father spoke up. I'd like to see this exhibition, he said, glancing at Lily. When is it, sweetheart? As Lily explained the details, I noticed a slight shift in my parents' demeanor. There was a hint of pride in my father's eyes that I rarely saw directed at anything Lily or I accomplished. Perhaps they were finally beginning to see that success and worth weren't solely measured by income or social status. In the weeks leading up to the exhibition, I learned that parent volunteers were needed to help organize the event. Without hesitation, I signed up. Between teaching and supporting Lily's art, my schedule was already packed, but this was too important to miss. At the first volunteer meeting, I met the other parents and the gallery staff who would be coordinating the exhibition. Miss Patel, the gallery's education director, recognized my organizational skills from my years of teaching and asked if I would be willing to take on a leadership role in coordinating the opening night reception. We need someone who can manage multiple aspects of the event while keeping the focus on the young artists, she explained. Your background in education makes you perfect for this. I accepted the role, grateful for the opportunity to contribute to Lily's big moment. What I didn't expect was Amanda showing up at the second volunteer meeting, designer handbag in tow and a determined look on her face. I didn't know you were interested in volunteering, I said, genuinely surprised. Well, when I heard you were taking a leadership role, I thought I should get involved too, Amanda replied. I have experience planning events for Richard's law firm. This shouldn't be too different. Throughout the meeting, Amanda attempted to take control. suggesting expensive catering options that were well beyond the exhibition's budget and recommending changes to the planned layout that would have given certain artists, including Ethan, who wasn't even in the exhibition, more prominent placement. Miss Patel tactfully acknowledged Amanda's input while sticking to the original plans. "We want to ensure all our young artists receive equal recognition," she explained when Amanda pushed particularly hard on the layout issue. I could see the frustration building in my sister as her suggestions were politely declined one by one. The other volunteers clearly preferred my more inclusive, supportive approach to Amanda's attempt to transform the community event into something more exclusive. After being assigned a minor role handling the guest book at the entrance, Amanda cornered me in the parking lot. "You know this is just a community art thing, right? Not like it's a real gallery exhibition with actual collectors or critics." Her need to diminish the achievement stung, but I was prepared for it this time. "It's real enough for these kids, Amanda. And who knows? Maybe some of them will go on to have their work in major galleries someday." "Let's be realistic," she scoffed. "Most of them will grow out of this hobby phase." As we continued preparing for the exhibition, I overheard Amanda telling other parents that Lily's success was just luck and that these public school kids usually don't get far in the art world. Each comment reinforced my growing resolution that something needed to change in our family dynamic. The exhibition requirements included a special preview reception for the artists' families before the public opening. Due to the venue's capacity constraints, each artist was limited to 4 tickets, enough for immediate family but not extended relatives. As the coordinator, I was meticulous about the guest list, ensuring that each young artist would have supportive people present for their big moment. For Lily, that meant Mark and me, plus 2 spaces that I initially thought we might offer to my parents. But as the preview reception approached, I realized that this moment needed to be purely positive for Lily. She needed to be surrounded by people who valued her for who she was, not what she owned or what school she attended. People who wouldn't compare her to her cousin or find subtle ways to undermine her confidence. I was still wrestling with this decision when Amanda forced my hand. 2 weeks before the exhibition, Amanda called me on a Tuesday evening. I was reviewing student papers when her name flashed on my phone screen. I briefly considered letting it go to voicemail, but decided it was better to know what she wanted. "Hi, Amanda," I answered, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Natalie," she began without preamble, "what time should we arrive for Lily's exhibition preview? I want to make sure Ethan has time to get dressed after his private tennis lesson." I paused, taken aback by her assumption. "Amanda, the preview is limited to 4 guests per artist due to capacity constraints. It's really just for immediate family." "Well, obviously we'll be there," she replied as if I hadn't spoken. "We're family. I'm sure you can make an exception." "It's not my exception to make," I explained, feeling the familiar tension headache beginning to form. "The gallery has strict fire code regulations. Each artist gets 4 tickets total. So, who are you giving the tickets to if not us?" Amanda demanded. "Mark and I will be there, of course. I was considering offering the other 2 to Mom and Dad. You'd choose them over Ethan? He's Lily's cousin. They grew up together." I took a deep breath. "Amanda, when was the last time Ethan showed any genuine interest in Lily or her art? He barely speaks to her at family gatherings. That's not fair. He's a busy kid with his own activities and friends. You can't expect him to always focus on his younger cousin. And yet, you expect Lily's big moment to be shared with people who have consistently made her feel less than." The words came out before I could stop them, but I didn't regret them. There was a moment of silence before Amanda responded, her voice hard. "It's just some community art thing. Not like it's a real gallery opening." As she said those words, something clicked into place. The birthday party. The years of subtle put-downs, the constant comparisons, it all crystallized into a pattern I could no longer ignore or excuse. Without planning it, I found myself typing out a text message while still on the phone with Amanda. I copied her exact words from 3 years ago and pressed send. "Don't bother coming, it's just for VIP kids. Yours can join online." I heard the ping of her phone receiving the message, followed by a sharp intake of breath. "Are you serious right now?" Amanda's voice rose in disbelief. "You're throwing a 3-year-old birthday party back in my face?" "That's incredibly petty, Natalie." "Is it?" I asked quietly. Or is it finally showing you how your words and actions affect others? You excluded my daughter from a family celebration because she wasn't VIP enough. You made a child feel worthless because of her parents' income and her public school education. And you've never, not once, acknowledged how deeply that hurt her. That was different, Amanda insisted. Ethan's party was actually important. And there it was, the unfiltered truth of how she viewed our children's respective milestones. Ethan's birthday was important. Lily's art achievement was not. In Amanda's world, nothing Lily did could ever measure up to anything Ethan did, simply because of who their parents were. Goodbye, Amanda, I said, ending the call as she continued to protest. Within minutes, my phone was blowing up with texts and calls, first from Amanda, then from my parents, then from various extended family members. I turned my phone to silent and went to find Mark. He was helping Lily with a science project in the kitchen. Both looked up when I entered, immediately noticing my expression. "What happened?" Mark asked, concern etching his features. I explained the conversation with Amanda and my impulsive response. Far from being upset, Mark looked relieved. "It's about time," he said. "She's been treating Lily like a second-class citizen for years. You stood up for our daughter, Nat. That's what parents are supposed to do." Lily had been listening silently, her eyes wide. "Is Aunt Amanda mad because she can't come to my exhibition?" I sat down beside her. "Honey, she's mad because I didn't automatically prioritize her and Ethan over your moment to shine. And yes, I used the same words she used when she excluded you from Ethan's birthday party." Lily bit her lip. "Are we making things worse? I don't want to cause problems in the family. That my sweet, compassionate daughter was worried about family harmony when she'd been the one mistreated broke my heart all over again." I took her hands in mine. "Listen to me, Lily. Sometimes protecting yourself means setting boundaries with people who hurt you, even if they're family. Maybe especially if they're family, because they have more power to cause pain. That's not causing problems, that's self-respect." Later that evening, after Lily went to bed, my parents showed up at our door unannounced. My father looked stern, my mother distressed. "What do you think you're doing?" my father demanded as soon as they were inside. "Amanda is beside herself." "I'm protecting my daughter," I replied simply. Something I should have done more forcefully years ago. By throwing her words back at her? By excluding family from an important event? My mother's voice was high with anxiety. "This isn't how we raised you to behave." "No," I agreed. "You raised me to always give in to Amanda. To accept that her achievements, her preferences, her child would always take precedence over mine. To smile and nod when she belittles my career, my home, and my daughter. I'm breaking that pattern now." "This is ridiculous," my father scoffed. "You're overreacting to a simple misunderstanding about a gallery showing." "This isn't about the exhibition," I said, my voice steady despite the emotions churning inside me. "This is about years of favoritism and enabling behavior. This is about Amanda teaching Ethan that his cousin isn't good enough to associate with. This is about Lily needing therapy because of how this family has made her feel about herself." My parents exchanged glances, clearly uncomfortable with this direct confrontation of family dynamics they'd helped create and maintain. "Amanda just called us," my mother said after a moment. "She's threatening to tell the exhibition committee that Lily copied her artwork from somewhere else if you don't apologize and include them." The vindictiveness of the threat took my breath away. She would try to ruin a child's moment of achievement out of spite? "She's upset," my father said, as if that excused everything. "You know how she gets when she feels slighted." "Yes, I do know. And it's time she learned that her feelings don't justify hurting others. If she contacts the committee with false allegations, I have documentation of all of Lily's work in progress. Her art teacher can verify its authenticity." I took a deep breath. "I think you should go now." After they left, I sat in our darkened living room, wondering if I'd made the right decision. The weight of family expectation and obligation pressed heavily on me. But then I thought of Lily's face when she received the exhibition invitation, the joy and pride she'd felt in her achievement. I thought of how far she'd come since the days of crying herself to sleep after being excluded from her cousin's party. I wouldn't let anyone, not even my sister, not even my parents, take that away from her. The night before the exhibition, I found Lily sitting on her bed, staring at her painting. When I asked if she was okay, she looked up with anxious eyes. What if no one likes it? What if everyone thinks Aunt Amanda is right and I don't belong there? I sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. Art isn't about belonging or not belonging. It's about expressing something true. And your painting does that beautifully. Some people will connect with it, others might not. But that doesn't change its value or yours. As she leaned against me, I hoped I was making the right choices for her, not just about the exhibition, but about the complicated web of family relationships we were now reweaving. The morning of the exhibition dawned crisp and clear, as if the universe had decided to cooperate with this important day. Lily was a bundle of nerves as we prepared, changing her outfit 3 times before settling on a simple blue dress that complemented her auburn hair. "You look beautiful," I told her as she twisted in front of the mirror. "And more importantly, you look like yourself." We arrived at the Westfield Gallery an hour early so I could fulfill my coordinator duties. The space had been transformed since our volunteer meetings. Now the white walls were adorned with artwork from talented young people across the region, each piece carefully lit to showcase its unique qualities. Lily's outside looking in had been given a prominent position on the main wall, visible immediately upon entering the gallery. When she saw it displayed so professionally, her eyes widened. "It looks different here," she whispered. "More real somehow." As I helped with final preparations, greeting the other parent volunteers and checking that everything was in place, I kept an eye on Lily. She was standing in front of her painting, making small adjustments to the identification card that listed her name and the title of her work. I could see the mix of pride and nervousness in her posture. The other young artists began arriving with their families, the gallery gradually filling with excited voices and proud parents. I was so focused on ensuring everything ran smoothly that I almost missed the unexpected arrival. Ethan walked into the gallery alone, looking slightly uncomfortable in khaki pants and a button-down shirt that seemed too stiff for a 13-year-old boy. He glanced around uncertainly until he spotted Lily, then made his way toward her. My heart clenched. Had Amanda sent him to cause trouble? I started moving in their direction, but before I could intervene, I saw Lily's face light up with surprise, and then a cautious smile. I slowed my approach, close enough to hear but not intrude. "Hey," Ethan said awkwardly. "I took the bus." "Mom doesn't know I'm here." Lily stared at him. "You came by yourself?" "Why?" Ethan shuffled his feet, looking younger than his 13 years. "Your painting is really good. I wanted to see it in a real gallery." He paused, then added in a rush, "And I know what Mom did was wrong. At my birthday. And other times too." I held my breath, watching this unexpected moment unfold. Lily seemed equally stunned. "Thanks for coming," she finally said. "Do you want me to show you around?" As they moved to look at the other artworks, I felt a tap on my shoulder. It was Miss Patel, the gallery's education director. "Natalie, I wanted to let you know we have a special guest tonight. Marcus Rivera from the National Arts Academy is here. He scouts young talent for their summer programs." My heart skipped. The National Arts Academy was renowned for its programs, many of which had launched successful artistic careers. Their summer scholarships were highly competitive and could open doors Lily had never imagined possible. As the preview reception officially began, I watched Lily and Ethan moving through the gallery together, an unexpected island of family reconciliation amid the sea of conflict. Mark joined them, graciously including Ethan in their conversations about the different artworks. I was so focused on my coordinator duties and keeping an eye on Lily and Ethan that I nearly missed the commotion at the entrance. Amanda's voice, loud and insistent, cut through the gentle murmur of the gallery. "This is ridiculous. My son is in there. I have every right to enter." I hurried to the door where Miss Patel was calmly but firmly explaining the ticket policy. Amanda, dressed as if for a gala rather than a student art exhibition, was becoming increasingly agitated. "Do you know who I am?" she demanded. "My husband is Richard Spencer, of Spencer and Thornfield Law. We donate to arts organizations across this city." Richard stood slightly behind her, his expression a mixture of embarrassment and resignation. I noticed he was holding what appeared to be a gift bag. "Amanda," I said as I approached, This isn't helping anyone. She whirled to face me, eyes flashing. You did this on purpose, didn't you? Excluding us, turning Ethan against me. He left a note saying he was coming here. I can't believe you encouraged this behavior. I had no idea Ethan was coming, I replied honestly. He made that choice himself. Where is he? She demanded, trying to peer around me into the gallery. Ethan, we're leaving now. At the sound of his mother's voice, Ethan emerged from the crowd, Lily trailing uncertainly behind him. The look on his face wasn't the usual compliant expression he wore around his mother. There was determination there. And something else, a newfound independence. Mom, I'm staying, he said, his voice cracking slightly but holding firm. Lily's painting is really good, and I want to support her. Like family should. Amanda stared at her son as if he'd spoken in a foreign language. Ethan, get your things. We're going home right now. No. The single word hung in the air between them. I'm tired of how you treat Lily and Aunt Natalie. It's wrong. A hush had fallen over the nearby guests, everyone pretending not to watch the family drama unfolding. Richard stepped forward, placing a restraining hand on Amanda's arm. Amanda, this isn't the place, he said quietly. We're causing a scene. I don't care. Amanda's voice rose higher. This is about respect. About family loyalty. Is it? Ethan challenged, surprising everyone. Because it seems like you only care about loyalty when it's to you. When has Lily ever been disloyal? When have Aunt Natalie and Uncle Mark ever been anything but nice to me? Even when you say mean things about them. The raw truth from a 13-year-old boy cut through the pretense. Amanda's face flushed. Whether from anger or shame, it was hard to tell. Richard, tell your son he's being ridiculous. She appealed to her husband. Richard looked at his son thoughtfully. Then at Lily, who was half hidden behind her cousin, and finally at me. Something in his expression shifted. Actually, I think he's showing remarkable maturity, Richard said. He held out the gift bag to Lily. This is for you, Lily. Congratulations on your achievement. Amanda's mouth dropped open. Richard, I've enabled this behavior too long, he said quietly to his wife. It stops now. He turned to me. I apologize for the interruption, Natalie. We'll go. But if it's all right, I'd like Ethan to stay and support his cousin. I nodded, too stunned to speak. As Richard gently led Amanda away, her protests fading as they exited the building, I caught sight of my parents across the gallery. They had arrived just in time to witness the entire scene, and the shock on their faces spoke volumes. The remainder of the preview reception passed in something of a blur. Marcus Rivera, the scout from the National Arts Academy, spent a considerable amount of time in front of Lily's painting, making notes and eventually asking to speak with her. I watched from a distance as he knelt to be at her eye level, discussing her work with the seriousness he would afford an adult artist. Lily's initially nervous responses gradually gave way to animated explanations of her technique and inspiration. When he handed her his card and mentioned a special application for their summer program with scholarship opportunities, her face lit up with a joy I hadn't seen in years. Throughout it all, Ethan remained by his cousin's side, a silent supporter in this moment of triumph. Whatever Amanda had tried to instill in him hadn't completely taken root. There was hope. Their hope for a different kind of relationship between the cousins. One based on genuine support rather than competition and class divisions. As the evening drew to a close and the last guests departed, Miss Patel approached me with a warm smile. This was one of our most successful youth exhibitions, she said. And I'm not just referring to the attendance or the quality of the artwork, though both were excellent. She glanced meaningfully toward Lily and Ethan, who were carefully packing up Richard's gift, a professional art supply set that had brought tears to Lily's eyes when she opened it. Sometimes art does more than hang on walls, Miss Patel continued. Sometimes it builds bridges. Looking at my daughter and nephew, I could only hope she was right. The bridges in our family had been damaged, perhaps beyond full repair. But new connections were forming, ones built on more solid foundations of mutual respect and genuine care. As we prepared to leave, my parents approached hesitantly. The exhibition was lovely, my mother said, her voice subdued. Lily's painting is. It's very powerful. It made me uncomfortable, my father admitted gruffly. But I suppose that's the point of good art, isn't it? To make you feel something, even if it's not pleasant. It wasn't quite an apology or an acknowledgement of their role in our family dynamic, but it was a start. A small crack in the facade of denial they'd maintained for so long. On the drive home, Lily sat in the back seat with Ethan, who would be staying the night with us before Richard picked him up in the morning. They were talking quietly about art and school and the ordinary things that cousins should be able to discuss without the weight of adult prejudices hanging over them. Mark reached over to squeeze my hand as we drove, a silent acknowledgement of the emotional roller coaster we'd been through. Whatever came next for our family, we had stood firm in protecting what mattered most, our daughter's sense of self-worth, and the knowledge that she deserved to be valued for exactly who she was. In the days following the exhibition, my phone was flooded with messages from extended family. The dramatic confrontation at the gallery had quickly become family lore, with various relatives taking sides. Some praised me for finally standing up to Amanda's elitism, while others condemned what they saw as my deliberate attempt to humiliate my sister publicly. Aunt Catherine called to offer her support. It's about time someone showed Amanda that money doesn't make you better than others. What she did to Lily over the years was cruel, pure, and simple. In contrast, my cousin Paul messaged, "Family is family. You don't air dirty laundry in public like that. Your parents are devastated by this divide." I let most messages go unanswered, needing time to process the seismic shift in our family dynamics. It was Lily who helped put things in perspective. "Mom," she said one evening as we prepared dinner, "I don't think Aunt Amanda is a bad person. I think she's just scared." "Scared?" I asked, surprised by her insight. "Of what?" Lily considered this as she carefully chopped vegetables. "Of not being the best. Of someone thinking she's not important. When Ethan stayed over, he told me she's always worried about what other people think." The wisdom of children never ceased to amaze me. Perhaps Lily had identified what my cousin Rachel had suggested months earlier, that Amanda's behavior stemmed from deep insecurity rather than mere snobbery. 3 days after the exhibition, I received an unexpected call from Richard. He asked if we could meet for coffee the following day, just the two of us. Curious and slightly apprehensive, I agreed. Richard looked tired when I met him at a small cafe halfway between our homes. The usually polished lawyer seemed rumpled around the edges, his eyes shadowed by lack of sleep. "Thank you for meeting me," he began after we'd ordered. "I wanted to apologize properly, without Amanda present. The way she's treated Lily, the way we've both allowed Lily to be treated, has been inexcusable." I was touched by his sincerity. "I appreciate that, Richard. But why now? This pattern has been going on for years." He sighed, running a hand through his thinning hair. "Seeing Ethan stand up to his mother like that, it made me realize I haven't been doing my job as a father. I've been so focused on providing financially that I overlooked the values we were teaching him." He paused, then added quietly, "And if I'm being honest, I've enabled Amanda's behavior because it was easier than confronting it." Richard went on to explain something I'd never known about my sister. Beneath her confident exterior, Amanda harbored profound insecurities about her worth, beyond material success. Our parents' emphasis on achievement had affected her even more deeply than it had me. She measures herself entirely by external markers: our house, our car, Ethan's accomplishments, Richard explained. She's terrified of being seen as ordinary or, God forbid, a failure. While this insight helped me understand Amanda better, it didn't excuse the harm she'd done to Lily. I told Richard as much. "I know," he agreed. "Understanding isn't the same as excusing. That's why I've insisted Amanda see a therapist. It's non-negotiable if she wants to salvage our marriage." This revelation surprised me. "Are things that serious between you two?" Richard looked down at his coffee. "The exhibition was a wake-up call. I don't want to be married to someone who would try to sabotage a child's moment of achievement out of spite. And I don't want Ethan learning that behavior is acceptable." Later that day, my parents showed up at our door, unannounced again. This time, their demeanor was different, less confrontational, more subdued. We sat awkwardly in the living room, the weight of unsaid words hanging between us. Finally, my father cleared his throat. Your sister has always been high-strung. Even as a little girl, everything had to be perfect. We may have encouraged that tendency more than we should have. It was as close to an admission of their role in creating the family dynamic as I was likely to get. My mother reached for my hand, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. We never meant for things to go this far, she said. We never thought it would affect Lily like this. But it did, I replied gently. And we all need to acknowledge that before we can move forward. I suggested family therapy, a neutral space where we could address the patterns that had caused so much pain. My father initially balked at the idea, but my mother surprised me by supporting it. We need help to fix this, she said firmly. All of us. Amanda refused to attend the first therapy session, sending Richard in her place. Dr. Bennett, the family therapist, guided us through a discussion of generational patterns of favoritism and how they had shaped our relationships. My father grew increasingly uncomfortable as the conversation progressed, especially when my mother tearfully admitted that her own mother had favored her sister in much the same way Amanda had been favored. It's like a blueprint we've been following without even knowing it, my mother said. My sister became exactly like our mother, and Amanda. Amanda became like me, but more extreme. By the end of the session, my father had fallen into a thoughtful silence. As we were leaving, he pulled me aside. I never saw it that way, he admitted. I thought we were just encouraging excellence. Meanwhile, Lily was flourishing in the aftermath of the exhibition. Marcus Rivera had been serious about his interest in her work. The invitation to apply for the National Arts Academy's special mentorship program arrived, complete with scholarship information that would make it financially feasible for us. More surprising was Ethan's request to spend more weekends with us. Mom's been weird since the exhibition, he explained when he called. Dad says she's processing, whatever that means. But I want to learn more about art, and Lily said she'd teach me some techniques. I was touched by his interest, but cautious about navigating this new dynamic. How could I support my nephew without undermining my sister's parental authority? It was a delicate balance, one I discussed with Mark at length. As long as Richard approves, I think it's good for Ethan to have a break from the pressure, Mark said. And it's certainly good for Lily to have a chance to be the expert for once. The first Saturday that Ethan came to stay, he and Lily spent hours in our backyard sketching the old oak tree. Their heads bent together over their pads, dark and light hair mingling as they concentrated. It was a picture of cousins as they should be, supportive, collaborative, without the poison of comparison and competition. Just as we were beginning to find our footing in this new family landscape, Amanda escalated the situation. A formal cease and desist letter arrived from her law firm, accusing me of parental alienation and deliberate interference in the mother-child relationship. It threatened legal action if I continued to encourage Ethan's defiance. I was stunned by the formality of the threat, but refused to be intimidated. I compiled documentation of past incidents, text messages about the birthday party, emails discussing family gatherings where Lily had been subtly excluded, notes from Lily's therapist about the impact of these experiences, and sent them to Richard with a simple message. This is what we're dealing with. I won't be threatened for being kind to my nephew. Richard called immediately, apologizing profusely. I had no idea she'd done this. The firm wouldn't have sent that letter if I'd known about it. 2 weeks later, Richard arranged what he called a family summit at a neutral restaurant. My parents were there, along with Richard, Amanda, Mark, and myself. The children were purposely excluded to allow the adults to speak freely. It was one of the most difficult dinners of my life. Amanda alternated between icy silence and cutting remarks. My father attempted to smooth things over with reminiscences about happier times. My mother kept shooting anxious glances between her daughters. The breaking point came when Amanda accused me of trying to steal her son. "You've always been jealous of what I have," she hissed across the table. "Now you're trying to turn Ethan against me because you can't stand that he has advantages Lily doesn't." "Amanda!" Richard interrupted firmly. "That's enough. You're taking her side now?" Amanda turned on him, eyes wide with disbelief. "I'm taking the side of truth," Richard replied evenly. "And the truth is, we've contributed to a toxic dynamic. It stops now, or..." He hesitated, then continued with quiet determination. Or, I'll be filing for a trial separation, with primary custody of Ethan. The table fell silent. Amanda's face drained of color. You wouldn't, she whispered. I don't want to, Richard said. But I will if that's what it takes to break this cycle. My father, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke up. Richard's right. He looked at Amanda, then at me. His expression pained. We've let this go too far. Your mother and I. We should have stepped in years ago. It was the closest thing to taking responsibility I'd ever heard from him. Amanda stared at our father in shock, unused to anything but validation from him. In the following days, the family landscape shifted dramatically. Richard announced that he and Amanda were beginning a trial separation. The bombshell came when Ethan asked to live primarily with his father during this period. I love Mom, he explained when he called to tell Lily the news. But Dad listens to me. He doesn't decide who I should be before I figure it out myself. Amanda's carefully constructed facade was crumbling, and with it, the family structure we had all taken for granted. What surprised me most was finding an unexpected ally in my grandmother, who had remained largely silent on family matters for years. During a rare private conversation, she confessed, I see myself in Amanda, and it frightens me. I did the same to your mother, and Aunt played favorites, used accomplishments to determine worth. Her eyes, clouded with age but sharp with awareness, held mine. It takes courage to break these patterns, Natalie. More courage than most of us have. As winter turned to spring, our fractured family began a slow, tentative healing process. Amanda entered therapy, initially to prove Richard wrong, but gradually with more genuine engagement. Lily and Ethan continued to develop their artistic interests together, creating a bond that existed independently of the adult conflicts. My parents made halting efforts to treat their grandchildren equally, though old habits sometimes emerged in subtle ways. When my father automatically praised Ethan for his grades while asking Lily nothing about her recent art award, I gently called his attention to the disparity. He looked startled, then shamefaced. Old dogs, new tricks, he muttered, but made a point of asking Lily detailed questions about her artwork afterward. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even close. But it was movement in a direction that offered hope for a healthier family dynamic, one based on mutual respect rather than competition and judgment. 6 months after the exhibition, Lily was preparing for her summer at the National Arts Academy. The scholarship Marcus Rivera had helped her secure covered most of the costs, making it possible for us to provide this opportunity for her. As I watched her carefully pack her new art supplies, her movements confident and purposeful, I marveled at the transformation. Nervous? I asked, sitting on the edge of her bed. She considered the question thoughtfully. A little, but mostly excited. Miss Rachel says it's going to change how I see art forever. How do you feel about everything else? I asked carefully. The family stuff? Lily zipped up her supply case before answering. It's complicated, isn't it? But I think it's better now. More honest, at least. Her insight continued to impress me. At 12, she understood something that had taken me decades to grasp, that honesty, even when painful, was healthier than pretense. The changes in our extended family continued to unfold in unexpected ways. Amanda, after several months of therapy, had begun to show small signs of self-awareness. She wasn't transformed overnight, that would have been unrealistic, but there were moments when the armor of perfectionism cracked, revealing glimpses of the sister I remembered from our early childhood. Richard and Amanda were still separated, though they had begun couples counseling. Richard had told me privately that the therapist was helping Amanda recognize how her insecurities had driven her behavior and damaged her relationships. She's starting to understand, he explained during one of our now regular coffee meetings. Not just intellectually, but emotionally. That's the harder part. Thanksgiving arrived, bringing the first gathering of our entire family since the exhibition confrontation. We hosted at our house, a neutral territory that didn't carry the baggage of my parents' home, where so many tense holidays had unfolded. As everyone arrived, the atmosphere was tense but civil. Amanda entered last, looking both defiant and vulnerable. She had brought an expensive bottle of wine and a homemade pie, an unusual combination that somehow symbolized her internal struggle between status symbols and genuine contribution. Dinner conversation was carefully steered toward neutral topics, current events, movies, the unusually mild weather. Ethan, who had continued to develop his artistic interests alongside Lily, proudly showed off sketches from their joint project. "We're making a graphic novel about family," he explained, spreading the pages on the coffee table. "It's about how people can be connected by blood but still have to learn how to be a real family." The adults exchanged glances, recognizing the thinly veiled commentary on our own situation. Amanda studied the drawings with an unreadable expression. After dessert, I found myself alone in the kitchen with Amanda as we loaded the dishwasher. The silence between us was heavy with unspoken words. Finally, she spoke without looking at me. "Ethan's different now. Happier, maybe. More himself. He's finding his own path," I replied carefully. "That's what we all want for our kids, isn't it?" Amanda placed a dessert plate in the rack with deliberate precision. "I always envied you, you know." The admission startled me. "Envied me? But you have everything, the career, the house, the status. You have certainty," she said simply. "You always knew who you were, what you wanted. I've spent my whole life trying to prove something, and I'm not even sure what it is anymore." It wasn't quite an apology, but it was perhaps something more valuable, a genuine moment of connection, without the barriers of competition or judgment. "It's not too late to figure it out," I told her. "For any of us." The conversation was interrupted by Lily calling us to see the family photo she wanted to take. Everyone gathered in the living room, arranging themselves with the awkward formality that comes with unresolved tensions. As Mark set the timer on the camera and hurried to join us, I noticed the natural grouping that had formed. Richard and Ethan stood close together, with Amanda slightly apart but still connected. My parents positioned themselves carefully in the center, trying to bridge the remaining gaps. Lily stood beside me, her posture relaxed and confident. It wasn't the picture-perfect family portrait that might have appeared on Amanda's Instagram feed in years past. Instead, it was honest, a family in transition, with all the messiness and hope that entailed. In January, Lily received word that her painting from the exhibition had won a National Youth Art Prize. The award came with a modest cash prize and publication in an arts education journal. Amanda sent a text message that simply read, "Congratulations to Lily. Well deserved." Those 6 words represented more progress than 1,000 therapy sessions. There was no attempt to diminish the achievement, no comparison to Ethan, no backhanded compliment implying that the award wasn't really significant. Richard and Amanda continued their couples counseling, working toward a healthier relationship whether or not their marriage ultimately survived. Ethan divided his time between them, but spent one weekend a month with us, working on art projects with Lily and gradually rebuilding the cousin relationship that had been damaged by adult conflicts. One evening, as Mark and I watched Lily and Ethan collaborating on a new art project, a complex piece about family connections using interwoven strings of different colors, I reflected on how far we had come. The journey had been painful, the confrontations uncomfortable but necessary. "Some relationships can heal," I said quietly to Mark. "Others have to change form. Either way, it's about honesty and respect." He squeezed my hand. "You made that possible by standing your ground. It would have been easier to keep pretending everything was fine." Easier in the short term, I agreed, but not for Lily, not really for any of us. Looking at our daughter confident, talented, developing a strong sense of self-worth independent of comparison to others, I knew with certainty that I had made the right choice. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for family isn't to tolerate harmful behavior in the name of harmony, but to demand better even when that's uncomfortable. The new family portrait on our mantle told the story better than words could. Unlike the stiff, formal photos of the past where everyone pretended perfection, this one showed reality Amanda at an appropriate distance but still present. Ethan and Lily side by side, the adults with expressions that acknowledged the complexity of family relationships. It wasn't perfect, but it was authentic. And that, I had come to believe, was far more valuable. Has anyone else had to make a difficult choice between keeping the peace and standing up for what's right in your family? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Family dynamics are never simple, and sometimes the most loving choice isn't the easiest one. If this story resonated with you or helped you feel less alone in your own family struggles, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more real family stories. I'm grateful to each of you who took the time to listen to my journey, and I hope it gives you courage to protect what matters most in your own lives. Remember, sometimes saying no to toxic behavior is saying yes to healing and growth. Take care of yourselves and those you love.